My role at A+ is managing director. And I suppose as a family-owned business, we're still pretty hands-on. I'll get involved in stuff perhaps I shouldn't do, which might mean if a client rings up and needs an urgent part delivered, I'll get that myself. At the same time, I do spend a reasonable amount of time working on strategy and looking forward for the business and trying to make sure that our offer and our products support our key supply chain partners and keeps our business adapting and evolving in, as what we said, is quite a challenging market commercially at the moment. Because fundamentally, we're only as good as our last job. If we deliver late, if we don't manufacture to a specification, then ultimately my clients suffer and their clients suffer, and we never want that to happen. So whatever changes at A+, however large we get or however much we change, that bit won't change. That fundamental link between the family, the managing director, and the shop floor will exist. In terms of aluminium window production, which is what A+ Windows does, the commercial sector is probably 70 to 80% of our core business nowadays. And I suppose it means a lot of things. For us, it can be anything from an entrance door to a school from a single customer up to a multi-million-pound facade package for a cladding contractor or a specialist installer like SEH. So the commercial market is quite broad, but the key sort of factors within it remain the same. People want a quality product that delivers to a specification at the right price, and they want it on time. Within A+, we kind of pride ourselves on dealing with all those projects in the same way. We give them the same level of importance and the same level of quality. So I think the commercial market differs fundamentally from the domestic market in a number of ways. We actually came as a fabricator from those beginnings. We, like a lot of fabricators, started down the domestic route, making aluminium 25, 30 years ago. And so much has changed since then in terms of building regulations, specifications. And I think the biggest differentiator is probably the thermal performance of the windows. And the domestic market is very different to the commercial market. So that's actually led in the last 10 years to quite a difference in design. The commercial market is still principally concerned with performance, meeting a specification, and robustness and longevity. Whereas in the domestic market, I think the aesthetic is still the driving factor. People want to know it looks good. And whilst that's important architecturally for the commercial market, the critical issue is always hitting a specification and delivering on time and getting the price right. I think particularly in the last 5 years as well, with the advent of a lot of acoustic specifications have got a lot higher. But we're building in areas that need more acoustic performance because we've run out of greenfield sites. We're building in areas that perhaps we wouldn't have done 15, 20 years ago. And all those specifications together are really pushing the boundaries of sort of modern window production within the commercial sector. So I think we find now it's much more difficult to find a product that performs on every specification, and that's why at A+ we tend to look at each project individually, and we'll try and find with our partners a solution that works for individual jobs or individual projects. I think having a suite of products from one supply chain that does everything just doesn't work anymore. You have to look at specific bespoke solutions to each individual job. And I think that's where it's different. In the domestic market, you can still have a window, a door system that kind of does pretty much everything. But commercially, that just doesn't work anymore. You have to be more specific and more focused. I think SEH are very different to a lot of the industry, to be honest. They are probably the most kind of down the line, honest installer that we've ever come across and worked with. That comes from their MD, who we have a very good relationship with, and that permeates down through the business. They want things done right. They won't do things cheaply to cut a corner and win a job. They will only ever do things correctly, and that sounds sad to say, but that's quite rare. They are genuinely want to work with us as a partner, and again, that word partnership's used a lot in our industry, and rarely does anyone follow through on that actually means. And I think with SEH, the relationship we have and why they're different is that they'll work with us and ultimately work with their clients to make sure whatever's happening on a job, the ultimate goal is never forgotten, and we all work towards that in genuine partnership. And that gives a lot of strength, to be honest, to the business, because we can invest our time within SEH, we can invest our staff in terms of training, in terms of helping and aiding on projects much more than we would with other key accounts, because we know that will be reciprocated. So in terms of investment of staff and time, we can make that investment in SEH because I know they do it with their own staff, and I know that they do that well. Ultimately, that will benefit them and their clients. At A+ at the moment, the training for us is critical. It's an industry we're in manufacturing. It's as automated as we can get it. We have tried to invest in terms of machinery to the ultimate level we can. There's a point where there is no more machinery to buy. It relies on people, and ultimately that relies on training for those people, so they're empowered to do their job properly. And I think as an industry, there's not a huge amount of investment in training across the board, particularly at our level. But that we want to change that. We're really keen on having trained staff who know not only how to do their job, but understand the industry in a broader sense. So all of our staff currently are going through CTOL Level 1, which is the curtain wall and cladding training that's provided by the CWCT. And I think those incremental improvements start to translate to the client. They start to see that because we're not like another installer. We're a bit different. And I think we're proud of that between A+ and SEH. And I think we want to keep working together. And the longer we're in partnership and the more projects we do, the better we become. I'm positive about the future. I think the industry is still a nice one to work in, and it's one that we can both enjoy our jobs, develop our businesses and grow in. I don't see any problems in the future at all. I'm quite looking forward to it, to be honest.